Hey, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, you're probably looking at the video right now, and you can find me on all things social media at the Carl Jackson Show. Also, I'm check out the podcast or subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. I'm wearing, all right, so for those of you that are watching, I'm wearing reading glasses. And I don't wear glasses regularly, but when I am reading, I will put on glasses. They're not, I guess they're prescription glasses. I went to the eye doctor. I thought it was like 2 or 3 years ago. They're like, dude, you haven't been for 6 years. So I went to the eye doctor today. They dilated my eyes. They're giving me a new prescription, I guess a progressive prescription, but they said my eyesight was way better, or much better than they expected, because I had gotten something in my eye that it scratched up my eye a few months back and all this kind of stuff. And I've been feeling a little pain as a result. So anyway, all of that, I'm probably getting like way too personal here, but I never wear glasses on video because I typically don't need them. And I don't need them to read all things, but my eyes, I guess, since being dilated, this happened in the last hour and a half. They just feel just a little fuzzy. And so it's a little harder to read through some material, but I'm going to give you some of my thoughts. I read some things this morning that I wanted to opine on. And then also, I just want to talk to you about happiness. This is going to be somewhat of a different podcast. And I got to tell you, this is so sad, Gabe. Let me ask you a question, Gabe. Pipe your mic up for just a second. Is it confirmation that your life is maybe too busy and dull when you actually enjoy a visit at the eye doctor to the eye doctor? I'm just trying to confirm that. My life is like it's insane between my day job and business, and then radio and podcasting in the morning. I don't much catch a breath, but I actually I didn't always. I was a bit of a hermit. I feel like as I get older, I'm coming out of that a little bit, and so like I went to the eye doctor, and I actually enjoy talking to the doctor. I enjoy talking to, I guess they're considered nurses. At the eye doctors, and even the other staff members, they were just so pleasant. It was really a great experience at the eye doctor. I'll give them a shout out at Loma Eye Associates in Orlando, and man, they were just really good. But anyway, just enjoyable people to talk to, and that's one of the things that makes for a happier life. But before I talk about that, and I think that's so important, especially in today's times, I know this is a completely different type of podcast, and I'm gonna touch on some of the news that I see that's out there. First, real quick, let me do this. I do want to opine on what happened with Speaker Mike Johnson and the foreign aid package that was passed for. There's money for Ukraine. There's money for Israel. There's money for Taiwan. There's humanitarian aid for Gaza, which will go to Hamas. So we're going to be supporting Hamas, just so you know, just so you're aware of that. So I want to say this real quick. I won't stick on this because there's nothing we can do at this point. But I really do believe that the hopes that we will seal the border or get any type of border reform before the election. I believe this bill made it absolutely impossible for that to occur. I don't believe that Speaker Mike Johnson is virtuous. I believe he's weak, and I just want to share that. Listen, I don't have any animosity for the man. You know, from everything that I've read, from everything that's been reported, I'm sure things that you've read, things that perhaps you've heard. He's an outstanding human being. He is a Christian, a good husband, good father, just not cut out for the speakership. And I think that's abundantly clear, in my opinion. You need pit bulls in that particular office, and that simply isn't what we have. And I know there's going to be many in the conservative movement on the Republican side that'll disagree with me when it comes to the foreign aid package. And I think I'm probably somewhere in between. I don't mind aid to Israel. I believe they are our only real democratic, if you will, ally in the Middle East. Man, my eyes are bothering me a little bit. Sorry, guys. Our only democratic allies in the in the Middle East, and I believe that they are the a buffer or the first line of defense when it comes to radical Islam. Actually, I don't even believe in radical Islam. Islamist. I believe that when people adhere to the Muslim faith, that's what I believe. I'm sorry. When people actually adhere to it and actually follow it, then we're doomed, frankly, because they believe in a big Satan and a little Satan. So I always hope and pray that the people that believe in the Quran and all that kind of stuff are kind of carnal in their thinking and westernized in their thinking. Otherwise, I believe that it is a dangerous religion. That is my opinion. But just getting back to Mike Johnson real quick and the issue with Ukraine. And guys, I want you to understand this. I want to make this emphatically clear. Listen, man, I as a Christian, and I believe it, I'm called to love all people. But I just think that at this point in time, we're not seeing any results in Ukraine. We're spending money and it isn't changing the situation. I don't think it's deterring Russia from trying to take areas of Ukraine whatsoever. I don't think that Vladimir Putin is going to be able to press our NATO allies or go into the Baltics. At least I haven't seen evidence of that, given the fact that he's been fighting Ukraine for nearly 3 years, or close. I mean, close to 3 years, or maybe it has been 3 years. Has it been 3 years? Maybe it's been 2 years, just over 2 years. And they seem to keep fighting for the same territories over and over and over again. So that leads me to believe that there's no there to that particular argument. John Daniel Davidson of the Federalist had a great column out today. And basically, I mean, I expressed a lot of the things that he said on air last night with Officer Tatum. But I mean, he's had time to think through it and write through it. And he just came up with a great article. Let me see if I can find it. It's called, and the title I love. He said, Johnson didn't cave on Ukraine funds because of intel briefings. Basically, and the argument is that he was cowardice, that he was weak. I mean, what did he see in intel briefings that we didn't already know? That Putin is advancing against Ukraine, or didn't hear that Putin would possibly attack, NATO allies. He could go further. He could expand his territory. Given the things that just what we've learned from reading in news reports, I mean, that doesn't seem to be the case. I heard Speaker Mike Johnson on an interview with my colleague this morning, Hugh Hewitt, and he said one of the reasons why, he went into the SCIF, basically that secured area where you can only read, classified material there, and you have to leave it there and all that kind of stuff. And the reports that he got, he just said things were basically, I'm paraphrasing, things were worse than that, and than he expected or whatever, or realized perhaps. And so he didn't want to, he didn't want the world to see America as weak. And under President Biden, the world is perceiving America as weak. And so we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to abandon our allies. Well, we know that Ukraine is not an ally, and it isn't that I don't necessarily want to help Ukrainian people. The problem is I don't want to see people dying. I think the best solution right now is to try and work out a ceasefire instead of worrying about Israel and Hamas. Leave Israel alone. Why are we bothered with that? Let them do their thing. They were attacked. Let them do, as a sovereign country, what they need to do to handle their business. You know what I mean? I know Biden is concerned about his base, which are these pro-Hamas, anti-Jewish protesters on these college campuses, if you will. But he has no business. He has no business telling Israel how to run their country and how to run their wars. It's not like Joe Biden has been great at it. Obviously we have the Afghanistan debacle. We have the Russia-Ukraine war that would not have started, in my opinion, were former President Donald Trump still in office. We have the attack, Hamas attack against Israel. I don't believe any of these things would have occurred, quite frankly. And that isn't to say that Donald Trump is God, but Donald Trump was excellent when it came to foreign policy. However you feel about the man, the world, the dictators of the world were terrified of him because he was unpredictable. Whereas Biden, they know exactly what he's going to do. And frankly, when Speaker Mike Johnson says, listen, the perception around the world is that we're weak, and so we wanted to fund our allies and so on, et cetera. Again, Ukraine not being an ally. Do you think giving them money is going to change the world's perception that America is weak with Joe Biden at the helm? Absolutely not. And Speaker Mike Johnson backed out on his words. Remember, he said that we were going to. And guys, I'm not arguing to get rid of Speaker Mike Johnson. It's just not going to work right now. All right, it's as simple as that. It's not going to work right now. I'm not mad at Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not mad at Thomas Massey. I think they're right for calling Speaker Mike Johnson out. But to try to change the seats right now, who do you get to take over? And are they going to be another Mike Johnson? I mean that's what you have to contend with. I wasn't happy with Kevin McCarthy, but he's obviously far better at this game than Speaker Mike Johnson, because I don't think he was necessarily a pushover. And I think the Speaker Mike Johnson is emblematic of what many or illustrative, I should say, of what I see with Christian leaders when it comes to the area of politics or in the realm of politics. It's absolutely insane to me. But for some reason, there's a disconnect between evangelicals and the political arena when we're called to be salt and light. And obviously, that is a spiritual command, if you will, biblical command. About our spiritual walk, our walk with Christ, but also wherever we go as Christians, we should make that place a more holy place, if you will. And that means that you're going to have to be involved in cultural fights. That means that you're not going to be loved by everyone. And I got to say, if you're lauded on both sides of the aisle in Washington, D.C., it's probably because you're ineffective. But Speaker Johnson promised border security. He voted, as a matter of fact, he voted against sending money to Ukraine back in May 2023. He did the same, I believe it was in September or October, without any conditions, for border security or whatever, ramping up border security. And now we go from what, 300 million to 61 billion for Ukraine, but we still don't get border security. And as a matter of fact, we offer, I forget how much it is, but I mentioned it last night on Tatum's show, and it's somewhere in this column. I can barely see. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why I'm trying to pull this off without my glasses. But how much? $4 billion goes to NGOs that are operating. Let me just read what John Daniel Davidson said of the Federalist, talking about the border. He said, Johnson did nothing about the border. He just pretended he had never made those promises and pushed ahead for Ukraine funding, throwing away whatever leverage he had with Democrats to help secure the border. So consider this. All of our leverage is gone through the election for border security. It's just gone. It's gone. It's wiped out. We have no leverage anymore. It's actually worse than that, he writes. He didn't just fail to deliver on his repeated promises to secure the border before sending more aid to Ukraine, but his foreign aid package will make the border crisis worse. Now, why would he say that? Because included in the bill was about $4 billion for, quote, migration and refugee assistance, close quote, which is going to be passed out to NGOs that are operating along the border and tasked with giving funds and travel assistance to illegal immigrants who have been released from federal custody. So $4 billion to NGOs that are going to help illegal immigrants that have been released from federal custody to give them travel assistance. So he just made the border crisis worse. This is so frustrating. It's so frustrating. But listen, guys, it's going to be up to us. I really believe that it isn't just going to be about 2024. Obviously, this presidential election is important, but I believe the bigger fight is going to be kicking out the rhinos in 2026. That is going to be the biggest fight that we're going to be tasked with, if indeed we still have a country at that point. And the more time goes on, I'm highly skeptical of that. All right. Let me just mention some other news, but before I do, and then move on to this happiness report because I thought it was fascinating. Let me talk to you about the wealth protection research. At the very heart of our democracy lies a principle that we hold sacred, and that is free speech. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom that we cherish. Yet in today's digital age, discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives, leaving many feeling voiceless in conversations that are crucial to our financial independence and security. This is where wealth protection research steps in. They're armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth protection research is not a financial advisory firm. They are defenders of free speech. They're committed to giving a voice to the silence. Wealth protection research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. Wealth protection research has created a 2024 election wealth protection report. This free report highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media will not touch, and listeners can get it completely free. All you have to do is text the word ideas, IDEAS, to 76626 to claim your free copy. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act now. Text the word ideas, IDEAS, to the number 76626 to claim your free copy of this 2024 election protection report. It's time to widen the scope of what we're told, to hear the ideas the establishment does not think you can handle, and to take control of our financial destinies. Text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. Again, text the word ideas, IDEAS, to 76626 to claim your free copy. Wealth protection research. Okay, now, oh man, I'm taking off my glasses. I'm sorry, I still need them. It's weird because I really don't wear them except when it's pretty much late at night and I'm trying to sit there and read and I'm squinting at the screen, which obviously isn't a good thing. But that's what I'm using them for typically. All right, let me just bring you up to date on some of the latest news here. The Jackson 5, if you will. I haven't called it that in a long time. I think I'm going to go back to that. The truth of the matter is sometimes, with this podcast, just being real, we go back and forth. What's a good idea? What isn't an idea? I was, not a podcast person before radio. I was kind of thrusted into podcasting. So anyway, it's just absolutely, it's just a different beast for me. So I am still learning at this game, if you will. So anyway, what are some of the bigger issues on the tip sheet real quick that we can discuss? And also we got some polls from the swing states. So Columbia University has announces a move to hybrid learning for the rest of the semester because of all of their bigots that are on the campus, including is it what's her name? Ilhan Omar's daughter. She's Barnard College. I'm not sure if they're tied into or what have you to that particular college, but Columbia University anyway. Harvard suspends the quote unquote Palestine Solidarity Committee. That means Hamas Solidarity Committee for remainder of the semester. The group supported Hamas October 7th attack. Why aren't they kicked out of the school? I mean, they're supporting genocide. They talk about genocide. They're supporting genocide. NYU students tell NYPD to go to hell for arresting protesters. So NYU students, this according to National Review, slammed the New York Police Department officers in a rally in Washington Square Park on Tuesday, a day after police cleared out an anti-Israel encampment and outdoor campus plaza. The reason why I think this is important is because skin ain't sin. By the way, you can check out my t-shirt now, Carl Jackson merch. .itemorder.com, carljacksonmerch.itemorder.com. Get your t-shirt Skin Ain't Sin. From there, you can check that out. But skin isn't sin. Being a Jew isn't a sin. Being white isn't a sin. And that's what the left wants you to, the immoral left, that's what they want you to believe. So it's absolutely insane. GOP senators are demanding colleges allowing anti-Semitic protests, harassment to lose federal funding. That sounds great, and I'm in total agreement with that. Do you guys think it's going to happen? Yeah, me neither. This is why the fight for getting rhinos out in 2026, in my opinion, is going to be a major fight. You got Secretary of State Anthony Blinken releasing a report detailing human rights concerns with both Israel and Hamas. What a freaking! You need to get rid of this bum. We need to get rid of this one. What a disaster this guy has been, Secretary of State. He's worse than John Kerry. I didn't think you could get any worse. But they are. Chinese illegal immigrants flood the southern border. China refuses to take them back. Wow. All right. Guys, listen, we know what's happening. China is on the march. I mean, I talked about this a little bit yesterday on Officer Tatum's show, but China is literally on the march now. They've acquired this embassy, 5 acres for an embassy in Antigua. They've gotten closer to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we suspect it's basically somewhat of a military setup where they're going to be listening in to United States and all that kind of stuff and trying to get more information as they want to be the world's dominant power. So U.S. prepares to sanction China for assisting Russia's war effort. So the U.S. is drafting sanctions that threaten to cut some Chinese banks off from the global financial system, arming Washington's top envoy with diplomatic leverage that officials hope will stop Beijing's commercial support of Russia's military production. It's not going to happen because it's Joe Biden. This guy has given up all the leverage. Our oil. I mean, we stopped drilling inside of the United States. Joe Biden has taken even more measures to stop even more drilling out of Alaska, and so who's emboldened by that? Everyone else that drills for oil, whether that's Russia, whether it's the Saudis that the left pretend like they hate, whether it's Iran. I mean. This is an absolute joke. I just don't believe any of this stuff will work with Joe Biden. The solution to all of this stuff is to get Joe Biden out. The DOJ agrees to pay $138 million for mishandling the case where sports physician abused female gymnast. They didn't mishandle the case. They ignored the case because they were too busy chasing after J6ers and trying to make up fake cases. So they allowed all these gymnasts to be molested and raped by this guy. That's what really happened. Reporter Evan Gershkovich. Anyway, I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry, Evan. But he's still being held in custody in Moscow, and it's being denied. And why would it be approved with Joe Biden in office? And we don't have another Brittany Griner to hand, whatever. I guess he's not as important as Brittany Griner is what I should say. All right. Supreme Court to listen to Biden's appeal over ghost gun regulation. There's a case with a gentleman by the name, I believe it's Dexter Tyler. I'm going to have Mark Walters on to talk about this because this is really important. Ghost guns, this is just a made up term from the left to make guns sound even scarier, and all these ghost guns that are on the street. When the truth of the matter is, when you ask criminals, basically, they either steal, more than them, most of them steal their guns. They're not some hobbyists that are making guns like Dexter Tyler, ordering parts illegally. Ghost guns simply don't have a serial number. You're buying different parts and you're putting them together yourself. I think it's less than 1% of the crimes out there, if even that, are ever committed by someone using a ghost gun. And most guns are used to commit suicide. Most people use guns to commit suicide. Excuse me, I have to sit up real quick because this stool, I still haven't gotten a pad for it because I've been slacking and it hurts my behind. But anyway, this is just me being completely real on podcasting today. Speaking of, so anyway, those are some of the headlines for today. So just so that you're aware, also I saw today in some of on Real Clear Politics, basically you have Trump leading in a lot of these swing states. And again, guys, I encourage you, listen. These aren't the Bible, so to speak, right? This is an absolute truth. People have to show up. But in Wisconsin, you have Trump up at least 48-44. In Arizona, you see Trump up 49-42, which that one kind of surprises me. So we'll see if that holds out, if that remains to be true. Georgia 49-43, Michigan 47-45. That concerns me because that's definitely in the margin of error. And you have Gretchen Whitmer, obviously out in Michigan, will probably make things a living hell for Trump. Pennsylvania, really close, 47-46. I'm calling that virtually a tie. North Carolina, Trump 51, Biden 41. Nevada, you see Trump up 51 to 43. So these are promising numbers if these numbers continue to hold and if they are indeed true and if people show up at the polls. Very, very interesting. All right. Man, MIT president moves school's Passover event amid new unrest. Man, this is Obama's America. I know it's Biden's ruling, if you will, but this is Obama's America. This is what this guy has done to this country. I mean, he destroyed our institutions, filling them with a bunch of woke bureaucrats and also academia with a bunch of racist bigots inside, and we're seeing the effects of that. All right, guys, I got to talk about something happier. And since I mentioned my butt hurting, let me talk to you about My Pillow. And maybe I need to follow my own advice. I got to see. I said I would do it the other day, and I didn't, Gabe. I got to see if there's a My Pillow butt pillow for stools. But you might have heard Mike Lindell and My Pillow. They no longer have the support of the big box stores or the shopping channels as well that they used to. They've been a part of this cancel culture. So they want to pass savings directly on to you by having their $25 extravaganza. When Mike started My Pillow, he only had one product. Now they literally have they have so many products, it's insane. And that's all with the help of his dedicated employees. They have hundreds of products, as a matter of fact, some that you may not know about. So just go on mypillow.com. You can check it out. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm inviting you, my listeners, to check out their $25 extravaganza. Fellas, Mother's Day is coming up. Wives, Father's Day is coming up. They've got this 2-pack multi-use My Pillows that are just $25. My Pillow sandals, $25. I'm about to get me a pair. Their 6-pack towel sets are $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And for the first time ever, the premium My Pillows with all the new Giza fabric are just $25 as well. Orders over $75 will receive free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long. Go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl or call 800-858-0263. Again, use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communist Karl Marx. All right, let's talk about happiness real quick and let's get out of here because that'll make Gabe happy. All right, so just real quick, I thought this was an important topic to talk about, and it's something that I needed given what we're experiencing. I mean, for God's sakes, I feel like we're losing. I don't know how to act with glasses on my face all the time, but for those of you that, if you missed it, I went to the eye doctor this morning. I had to get my eyes dilated, and it just feels weird, and they're a little blurry. And so in order to read some of my notes, I'm just having to use my glasses here. It just feels so foreign to me. But anyway, the Epic Times had this column, and I just found it fascinating. And I'm like, of course, it makes total sense to me. But the U.S. has dropped out of the top 20 happiest countries, according to the new report. It's called the World Happiness Report. And basically, everybody wants to be happy. But the question is, what is happiness? Or questions are, what is happiness? How does it differ from people across cultures and at different ages or stages in life? How is happiness measured? There's actually a World Happiness Report that examines all of this, and I thought it was fascinating. It's a partnership between Gallup, Oxford University, and I know the UN, but they're seeking answers. And listen, I don't trust the UN, but I wonder in studies like this if at times they're legit. They've lost all credibility. I think they should be totally abolished. But nonetheless, they participated in this report, and I found it somewhat fascinating. So I figured I'd share it with you because I know it was convicting to me. I mean, I asked Gabe, did I ask you this on air? I think I asked Gabe this on air. But maybe I didn't. I'm like, how dull is my life and how busy is my life when I go to an eye exam and I actually enjoy myself? It's insane. My schedule is so insane, and it's my fault. It's my fault. All right, so I have no one to blame but myself. But I actually enjoyed talking to the people there and all that kind of good stuff. All right, I think I mentioned that already. I did. All right, so So this thing examines the report, the World Happiness Report, examine happiness at various ages and stages of life, and then it talks about how past reports focused on various aspects of happiness. For example, the 2020 report dedicated a chapter to exploring why Nordic countries are consistently the happiest in the world. The 29 report devoted a chapter to the role of digital media and addiction in the unhappiness of the United States. All right. And then the 2017 report dedicated a chapter to the key determinants of happiness and misery, and one on restoring American happiness, a chapter that might be worth revisiting, they say. And I'm curious why that was. So how did this report start? Basically, the report started in 2012. And it was started to highlight the worldwide demand, there was worldwide demand that happiness and the absence of misery be given more attention, and creating government policy. So when I heard that government policy, a red flag went off, but I'm glad it's the Epoch Times, so I should have known better. The report's creators believe that, quote, the best measure of progress is the happiness of people worldwide. I'm not sure that I agree with that, given the fact that some people live under dictators. But even in those countries, I suspect there's things that people do to find a level of comfort and happiness. So, I could be wrong there. Here are some insights. One of the most striking insights they said from this year's report was the difference in happiness between the young and the old. A gentleman by the name of John F. Hallowell. He's a professor emeritus of economics at Vancouver School of Economics and the University of British Columbia, and a founding editor of the World Happiness Report. So this guy is busy, and he states in the report that the wide range of data about the quality of life worldwide gathered by their group, or by this report, the Gallup World Poll, going back to 2006, he says, offers enough data to separate happiness patterns into ages through generation. So I was curious about that. He said, quote, we found some pretty striking results. There's a great variety among countries in the relative happiness of the younger, older, and in between populations. Hence, the global happiness rankings are quite different for the young and the old to an extent that has changed a lot over the last couple of last dozen years, he says. So first off, happiness among young people declined significantly in North America. Does that surprise anyone? That doesn't shock me at all. It does not shock me at all. The United States falls out of the top 20 happiest countries this year. All right. That doesn't surprise me at all. And given we have such misery with our government, and although we shouldn't look to government when the government is intentionally trying to make your life more miserable and bring you down to size, it's hard. All right. So none of this surprises me at all. He says, again, the United States fell out of the top 20 happiest countries this year. Did I get the right page? And it was primarily due to a substantial decrease in the well-being experienced by younger people, specifically Americans under 30. And so what's happening in this economy? It's harder to find jobs. It's harder to, or a good paying job. It's harder to find or be able to afford the American dream or decent life. It's harder to, be able to save and all that kind of stuff. You have the left and attacking your Judeo-Christian values, this nation that you've grown up in, telling you how miserable the nation is, and honestly, feckless Republicans that don't seem to have a message as well. Churches that are being hollowed out because so many of them across the country have just become just nothing more than buildings. The editor of this report says, once again, the World Happiness Report uncovers some special empirical insights at the cutting edge of the well-being research frontier. He goes on to say, piecing together the available data on the well-being of children and adolescents around the world, we documented disconcerting drops, especially in North America and Western Europe. To think that in some parts of the world, children are already experiencing the equivalent of a midlife crisis. That is insane. demands immediate policy action. All right, so here's some stats real quick, and then we'll go over the things real quickly that makes for a better life. So in the United States and Canada, older people, those that are over 60 years of age, ranked higher in happiness than younger people. All right, got it? Older people happier than younger people in the United States. There was a gap of 50 or more places than those under the age of 30. All right. Then he said, however, it is the reverse when it comes to Central and Eastern Europe, with many happiness rankings favoring the young over the old. So it's completely opposite in Central and Eastern Europe. All right. The report looked at happiness in different generations, finding that those that were born before 1965, boomers, were generally happier than young people born after 1980. That would be millennials. All right. So millennials' life satisfaction decreases yearly, with boomers increasingly as they age. And maybe that's because boomers are living off of the millennials. The boomers did help to destroy America. Let's be real. They really did. I don't know. It's crazy. All right. The happiest countries ranked. So here they are. On the list of happiest countries, I probably should have started here. Finland takes the number one spot, and then you have Denmark. So you got Finland, Denmark, Iceland, and Sweden, largely homogenous. You're not going to see a lot of differences in those people, same customs, lifestyle, although some of these countries are being overrun by Muslims, so that won't take long to destroy them. Canada comes in at number 15. I'm actually surprised to hear that. But I guess they're so laid back, even though they have a little wannabe dictator. The United Kingdom comes in at 20. The United States slid down to number 23 after remaining in the top 20 since the report's inception in 2012. All right. So China is number 60 on the list. So for those of you that think China is better, kissing Xi Jinping's butt and all that kind of stuff, we're number 23. And that's horrible. China is number 60 on the list. So that goes to show you those people aren't happy. Russia comes in at 72. And trip off of this, many African nations round out the bottom of the list. So for all of you black people that thinks it would have been better to remain in Africa, you're definitely wrong. Even though slavery was a horrible thing, I believe that God used even that to bring greater happiness and joy and freedom to our lives as Black Americans. So we should be appreciative of that. Afghanistan drops to last place. So Joe Biden in the Afghanistan debacle, where the Taliban were able to come in and take over and rape women and children and all that kind of stuff and kill whomever they want. Yeah, they're not happy anymore. They rank last. So how does the report measure happiness? It's ranked by a Cantrell ladder, which is basically, if you picture a ladder, 10 being on the top, 0 being on the bottom, that's how it works. People are asked where on the ladder they see their current lives on a scale from 0 to 10. All right, so here are the issues that matter. The rankings are based on a 3-year average, by the way. All right, so social support is the number one predictor of happiness. Okay, so I just went to this eye exam, and I got to tell you, maybe it's because I gotten older, but what I enjoyed, it was great. And listen, it's not familial, obviously. These people are strangers for the most part, but it was such an enjoyable experience. I have the same. I go to a chiropractor. I have the same experience there, where the people are just nice and friendly. You build relationships over time. And I was like, man, it was just pleasant. It was different. So imagine having that social connection all the time. It's something that I didn't appreciate when I was younger. As I get older, I'm learning to appreciate it more. I'm missing family members more, friends more, so on, etc. And that connection, having that social support, is absolutely crucial. GDP is another thing, the gross domestic product. If you're not able to make money, if inflation is tearing up your money, it makes it a little more difficult to live. Yes, you can enjoy all the free things that are out there for you to enjoy. But I can say, as a man, specifically, you want to be able to provide. You feel like less of a man when you can't. or when it's harder to. That's just the way that we're built. And I'm sure, obviously men and women work. Obviously, I'm not a Neanderthal or any of that kind of good stuff. So I can imagine that that impacts everyone across the board. You want to be able to provide for yourself. All right, healthy life expectancy. So obviously that makes for, you want to be able to, Obamacare ruined this in my opinion, but we still have the best, or one of the best healthcare systems in the entire world. But having a healthy life expectancy, when I'm going to live this stage of life, I'm going to live this stage of life, and hopefully I'll get to enjoy this stage of life, and hopefully you're a believer where you have a meaning and purpose to your life, so on, etc. But a healthy life expectancy, that's important. You want to be able to live a decent life and a long enough life where you get to enjoy the stages of life. The freedom to make life choices. I was so surprised that the UN was involved in this. But the freedom to make life choices makes for happiness. That's why I think Americans are becoming less happy, because we don't have the freedoms that we used to. I mean, just think of the COVID lockdowns. And I really think that it's going to take a long time to recover from these COVID lockdowns. And education, as far as education is concerned, it's probably going to take, some say, a generation. That's how much the COVID lockdowns literally destroyed a lot of people. You get a better education, better jobs, so on, etc. And that could be trade school as well. But people want the freedom to be able to make choices, make life choices. America, we're losing our freedoms little by little. Generosity, how charitable people are, that makes for happiness. I got to tell you, that brings me joy. What's weird is just a couple of years ago, I made more money actually than I do now, but it's part of the sacrifice to make things happen here. But one of the things that I enjoyed, and the dollar went further, let's be honest, under Trump than it does under Biden. The economy was much better. And I love being able to give. I love being generous. It's a little harder to give now. I'll get these notifications from people, and I want to give. I can't give as much as I used to, but I still enjoy it. The absence of corruption, that's number 6, in governments and businesses, at least how it is perceived. And I believe that's so important, because you want to feel like you live in a place where you can be what God has designed you to be, instead of government dictators and tyrants trying to force you to work for them, basically. And so I just thought that was very, very important. So if you want to be a happier person, I do. These are things that I got to work on. Social support, your family, your friends, your network there. GDP, make sure you vote for people that actually want to put more money in your pocket and not take it away. Make sure that you vote, and you do the things necessary to live a healthier life and a longer life expectancy. I gabbed a little too long there. So again, social support, number 1, GDP, number 2, healthy life expectancy, whether that's adopting a more healthy lifestyle, whatever it may be, freedom to make life choices. Make sure that the politicians around you aren't taking or accumulating more power for themselves while they're taking away power from you. Generosity, be generous where you can. Honestly, that brings, it's more blessed to give than to receive. I really do believe that. The absence of corruption in governments and business, make sure you stay involved in the political process, so that we don't get more dictators and rhinos in. Dictators like Joe Biden and rhinos in. And that'll make for a happier you. It'll make for a happier America. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Also, please follow me on all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show. We're on X, Instagram, Facebook, True Social, and Getter. Don't forget to get your wealth protection report there. And again, the 2024 election wealth protection report, text the word IDEAS, IDEAS to 76626. And also mypillow.com, their $25 extravaganza, mypillow.com. Radio Podcast Square. Click on that. Enter my name, Carl, CARL. $25. go shopping, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.